All right, Steve, let's talk a little Penn State recruiting because despite the loss to Ohio State this weekend, it was a highly successful recruiting weekend in Happy Valley, and they are now in position for a couple big flips. Let's start with cornerback Brandon Finney. He's trending from Oregon. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, joined colleague Chad Simmons this morning in placing an on-3 RPM in favor of Penn State to ultimately flip Brandon Finney, one of the most coveted cornerbacks in the country. Michigan has also been involved with Brandon Finney, but talking to several sources with knowledge of the recruitment, they like where Penn State's positioned with this talented player from the DMV, and I think ultimately he'll end up in a class that currently ranks number 15 nationally.
Yeah, and he's not the only one that I think is trending in Penn State's direction. What about Michigan tight end Andrew Olis? He was on campus for the Ohio State game. What are you hearing coming out of that visit?
Well, a fantastic visit for Andrew Olish and his family. They got a chance to spend time with James Franklin about an hour before kickoff. And Coach Franklin told the family, look, Penn State's got everything you need to be successful here. He's seen Tyler Warren be one of the most dynamic tight ends in the country, a focal point of this Penn State offense. He likes where the depth chart's at with Penn State, with Luke Reynolds and him maybe being the guys at the top of the depth chart in the years moving forward. Likes the atmosphere and the vibe around the program. There's the family ties to Penn State. Michigan's doing all they can to keep Andrew Olish in the fold. He was at Oregon recently. He's expected back at Oregon in November, and then he's at Notre Dame this weekend. So still plenty of competition for Andrew Olish. But I view Penn State as the biggest threat to flip the number 3 tight end in the land from the Wolverines. Wow. I could see him in the class too, Josh, when all said and done.
All right, that would be a huge flip. Now, I might have buried the lead on this one, but five-star quarterback Matt Zollers, who's committed to Missouri, was also on the sidelines for this one. What's the latest on his visit after this one? I know he had some things to say, so how are you feeling on Matt Zollers right now?
I think he's locked in with Missouri. He said as much to me before the visit, saying he just wanted to go to a good game, said as much to our colleague Chad Simmons coming out of the visit. Now, anytime a quarterback takes a visit to another program, particularly of the magnitude of Zollers, my antenna goes up because as we get closer to the early signing period and it's time to dot I's and cross T's and put your name on a piece of paper saying you're going to a school, there's going to be some infrastructure and resources that are put on the table at the end of a process, and maybe those are needle-moving opportunities to change a young man's mind. But in the current moment, I like where Matt Zollers is with Missouri. He's going to be back in Columbia this weekend, I believe. Yeah. And as far as he's concerned, he just wanted to go see a big game.
Yep. I feel like we're probably at the end of his recruitment. I think he goes to Missouri this weekend. That's probably the last we hear in the run-up to signing day about Matt Zollers. But it just kind of makes me feel like Penn State blew an opportunity here. I feel like Matt Zollers was going to make one more trip to dot some I's and cross some T's, and I feel like if Penn State would have, solidly punished Ohio State, won the football game, I think Matt Zollers would have a different opinion of Penn State leaving that one.
Well, another year where Penn State was in that ball game against Ohio State, and ultimately the Buckeyes made a couple more big plays than Penn State was able to, and it was another loss for James Franklin and his staff. It ain't easy to beat Ohio State. James Franklin's got this program consistently in the top 10. They're in the mix for the college football playoff this year, and maybe a quarterback says, hey, I can be the one to help this program bust through. They're always going to be talented on defense. They typically have one of the best stables of running backs in college football. Same goes with tight end. They're looking to get more electric at wide receiver. Romero Eisen was on campus this weekend, Josh. He's a USC commit, on 300 recruit. He said he had a great time. He said he will be back again before he makes his final decision, and that Penn State is close to USC for Romero Eisen. He is a big-time player out of Baltimore. He would be a huge flip for Penn State down the stretch. And when you're talking about quarterback, Carter Smith recently decommitted from Michigan, the reigning Gatorade State Player of the Year in the Sunshine State. Him and his family are expecting to talk to Penn State today. We'll see if he visits the Nittany Lions this weekend. He's expected at Wisconsin next weekend. Several other programs are starting to show personal interest too here, UCF, Oregon being a couple of those.
All right, Penn State fans, talk to Steve and I. How you guys feeling coming out of this one? Some big-time flip targets trending in the Nittany Lions direction. Talk to us, comment section below.